My name is Dennis Buckmaster. I'm a professor and Dean's Fellow for Digital Ag at Purdue University in the Department of Agricultural and Biological Engineering. I want to speak to contextual metadata. It is a topic in agricultural data that is in dire need of attention. So for today, my objectives and essentially the outline is to remind and reinforce the need for full backstory, like exactly what happened here. I want to demonstrate a method to get these digital field records, and then I also want to give some mild encouragement toward tidy data. For situations that don't need a massive database, we ought to shoot to at least have tidy data that is interoperable. So why does ag need full data? Well, I just first want to just define the word context, and I'll let you speed read those definitions. And I'll highlight the last one, which is the set of circumstances or facts that surround a particular event, a situation, etc. It is the context is everything when it comes to agricultural data. All of those things that aren't the data itself, but put that data in its place. Another word for that would be backstory. It's the background conditions that led up to a current situation. So if you're trying to diagnose diseases or crop yields, pests, effective tillage, well, you need to know all of the other conditions related to that crop. So then we need this because if you're going to, for example, try to do machine learning on the effect of pests on yield, you would always need to know the planting date, the seed type, the nutrient application, what amount, what date, what method, what was the weather, and not just the summary of the weather, but exactly when did it rain and when were the hot days. You would need to know about the treatments, of course, related to the pests themselves. Another example would be trying to analyze the effect of planter downforce on emergence and yield. Again, you would need to know all those same things, the planting date, the seed type, the nutrient applications, etc. Bottom line, anytime you want to evaluate the effect of one thing on something, you need to know a lot of the context or the full backstory of what happened here. Researchers keep or kept this sort of data, but in all kinds of formats, usually in some sacred notebook that dare not be lost. Practitioners, producers, don't generally keep all of this data, but those of us that are big data folks, we want that data. In order to do artificial intelligence, you must have that contextual metadata. And we will find, and I'll hopefully convince you of this, that same data, which we used to call records and now we call it data, also has an abundance of other uses. So we need means to collect it simply, and collect it sufficiently. So we have a couple options that have come out of the OATS Center at Purdue. One is an app called Context. It's a progressive web app that it is an app that you would run on your mobile device, and your data ends up in your Google Sheet. You get to control who has access to it. Of course, now that it would be in a spreadsheet, it's easily editable to correct it, export it for other analytics, etc. But the one I want to demonstrate today is an Airtable database toolkit. So I have a ready-made design of this toolkit, which is readily customized. You can sync it to Google Sheets, and that's the one that I want to demonstrate. Before giving the demo, I would like to highlight some of the design considerations in this free toolkit. It's free. You get to control the sharing of your data. It's your database, and you get to enable access to whomever it is that you choose. It has an app-like feel. You just share a link with workers. It's easily modified and customized. It uses simple data validation for choices rather than the user typing in text strings. That also leads to more consistent data in your end result. Some of the form items are required, some are optional, some are conditional, and those are easily changed. An example of a conditional form item would be seed variety or plant population, seeding population. Of course, you only would ask that if your operation that you're doing is planting. This database sorts the records to facilitate two things. One, the most recent changed item will be at the top of the list for data validation. So chances are if you were spraying today earlier, and you're doing something now, you're probably spraying again. So it becomes the first choice. The other advantage of the sorting is that it will sort by field and then calendar date of operation, so that at a glance you get to see in field number 7 what has happened through the season in order without doing anything, just taking a glance at the data. Photos are enabled, which allows you to take a picture of the soil, the crop, the machine, the bag tag, the bug. Doesn't matter. What you get in Airtable is the stored digital photo. If you download that outside of Airtable, what you would get is a hyperlink to the photo in Airtable. And the data that you get in this system is tidy data. If you don't know what tidy data is, I encourage you to search for that with your favorite search engine. But it's tidy, which means that it's easily exportable to a mountain of other software for analytics. This is why employees and employers who have used this already like it. It's handy to enter the data before you forget it. You get a digital tidy data format. It allows analyses from multiple perspectives. You can easily generate the reports or printouts that to answer questions that you might need to have. And also you get year after year accumulation of the knowledge of what happened in particular places. So without further ado, let's do a live demo. I have logged into Airtable. One of my workspaces there is Field Metadata System, and one of the databases is Field Activity Records. I'll go there, and if you're familiar with spreadsheets, of course, a workbook has multiple sheets. Well, this is a database, so the database has multiple tables. And these tables, one for operators, the fields or the plots, the operations. I'll click on each of these. Each of these actually just pre-populate data validation in the form. So you're going to populate these lists with what do I have in my operation? What are the inventory pieces that I would choose from in doing this work? So those first several tables are lists of options. The last one, called metadata tallied, in the grid view shows what the end result is. So there will be a date, the who, the where, the what, how long, notes, etc. And this is just a columnar set of data, very tidy. The first row is the label of what's there. Every row is a record, and then every column is an independent piece of data in those records. So here you'll see there is a photo, and in this case, the photo is actually stored there. If you export, you go to Grid View and download a CSV file, you'll get exactly what you see on the screen here in Airtable as a CSV, which can be read by Google Sheets, Excel, or countless other software like R and Python and other platforms. So it will be what you see is what you get, with the exception that when you have a photo, you don't actually get the photo. What you'll get if you download the CSV is a hyperlink to that photo that's actually stored in Airtable. So let's see how it works. So in the metadata tally, there is a form, and what you would do is you would open the form. And so I'll leave it in desktop view here to start with, because this is the form where you would choose, well, what day did it happen? Maybe I'm reporting on something I did a couple weeks ago that I forgot to make a note of it. Who did it? Where did they do it? Etc. So it's drop-down choices, and then a little bit of text for a couple questions. Now, I'm going to do the what first to be harvest. Let's first do scouting. If I scout, then simply I would, how long did I scout, and what are the notes? Maybe add photos. If instead of scouting, I was planting, then I'm going to have to indicate, well, what tractor did I use? What implement was used to plant? What seeds were planted? Did I apply products like insecticide? Did I put on fertilizer? And of course, after I add the seeds planted, I plant that one, it will also ask the seeding rate. So this is an example of the conditional data elements. Then they're conditions based on what is the operation that's being performed. So again, just to show this a little bit in more of a phone type of view, I'll just change the view. This is exactly what it would look like on my phone if I were doing this on a phone. And on a phone, if I click the attach file, it will pop up accessing my camera, and I can simply take a picture of whatever it is that I wanted to note. At the end, you would just simply hit submit. And when you hit submit, then you would get, I'm not going to submit data actually here, but you would get another added row in your metadata tally that was reflecting all of the inputs that you've chosen. So a very simple method to collect such data and then share it with yourself or others via export. You can also synchronize, essentially duplicate all of this Airtable output in a Google Sheet. It's not trivial, it's not complicated, but it's also not trivial. But in that instance, then you would have truly autonomous data. You did the form in Airtable, but the data showed up in the right Google Sheet for you then to do your pivot tables or other analysis elsewhere. If this piqued your interest, I invite you to visit each of these QR codes. The first one is to a Digital Ag Resources website post related to the Context Metadata app. The second one takes you to a post regarding the Airtable toolkit ready to be customized for your operation. On that link, you'll see YouTube videos, which in total are less than 30 minutes, that will allow you to make a copy of that Airtable database, fully customize it for your own operation, and share it with those that you want to share it with. I hope this is useful to you.